A few weeks ago, I went on spring break with my friends. I saved up for months to rent that condo near the beach. It was supposed to be a fun trip, filled with laughter and good times. The first night was normal. We went out, drank, and had a blast. But things changed quickly. That night, I woke up feeling strange. It was too quiet. I walked outside to the beach. The moon lit up the waves, but there was a shadow at the water's edge. I squinted to see better. Felt like someone was watching me. I blinked, and the figure was gone. Maybe I was just too tired. I went back to bed. The next few days were off. I started noticing shadows moving past the windows while my friends were in the living room. I heard whispers but couldn't understand what they were saying. The laughter of my friends felt distant, like a movie playing in another room. I thought I was imagining things. So did they when I brought it up. They just laughed it off. One night I woke up again. The laughter from the beach stopped. I felt cold. I looked outside and saw footprints leading right up to our door in the sand. I didn't know how they got there. My heart raced as I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe someone had walked by. I wanted to believe that, but I felt something was wrong. I went outside to check. The ocean roared, but there was nobody around. "Hey!" I called out to my friends, but silence answered back. The quiet felt heavy on my chest. I didn't like being so close to the water, especially alone. I thought about waking them, but I didn't want to bother them. Each morning brought a strange feeling. My friends seemed fine, but I felt out of place. One of them joked that we had missed a night, but when I pressed him, he just laughed and said I was imagining things. I felt off, not sure what was real anymore. Then came the night before we were supposed to leave. I spotted that figure again on the beach. I shouted, trying to get my friend's attention. My legs felt weak and I stumbled back. When I looked again, it was gone. I felt panic rise inside me. What was happening? We packed our bags that morning. As we boarded the plane, I glanced back at the beach. Something twisted in my gut. I felt connected to that strange figure. I wondered what I had disturbed out there. Questions filled my mind, but I had no answers. As the plane took off, a chill washed over me. I glanced out the window at the clouds. They looked different somehow. I could hear whispers catching the wind. Were they real? I didn't know. And truthfully, I still don't. I can't shake the feeling that I left something behind. Something deep beneath the waves is waiting for me. I returned home, but everything felt off. My friends were excited to share their stories, but I was still haunted by the beach. I couldn't shake the image of that figure. I tried to fit in, to laugh along, but all I could think about were those shadows. They were stuck in my mind like an unwanted song. Days turned into weeks, but the feeling of dread didn't fade. I lost track of time and my friends' faces blurred into a fog of laughter and cheer. They moved on, but I kept replaying the moments from the trip. One night, I finally decided to confront it. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. I searched for anything related to that beach, the history, the locals, or even myths. When I stumbled onto something. A blog post about the area. The writer spoke of disappearances near the beach, people who vanished without a trace. My heart raced. I clicked to read more. They mentioned dark figures appearing at night, just before someone would go missing. I felt cold all over. Was this the place I had visited? I had been so naive. As I read through the post, I discovered something chilling. An old photo accompanied the article. In it stood a group of people on the beach. Their faces were distorted and blurry, except for one. A man with eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. I felt a jolt in my stomach. It was him, the figure I had seen. I stared at the screen, unable to blink. With shaking hands, I tried to scroll away, but I couldn't. I had to know more. I clicked to explore the comments. People shared their experiences, all similar. Then one stood out. Someone claimed to have seen it too, the same figure, haunting the same beach. They called it a warning, a ghost of the past that tired of forgetting. The post's author had noted that it got worse as summer approached. My breath quickened. Summer was just around the corner. Taking notes felt futile. There was nowhere to escape this feeling. I dashed to my phone and texted my friends, hoping they could share their thoughts. They responded with upbeat messages about plans for the weekend, all excited about a local concert. I forced a smile for their enthusiasm, but dread filled me. Did they not know about the darkness lurking at the beach? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining the figure appearing on my window. I thought about the whispers, the shadows that moved when nobody was around. I couldn't dismiss it all as just my imagination anymore. I had to go back. Something was pulling me there, something unfinished. As I laid in bed, the darkness felt thick, pressing down on me. The air turned electric, and I could hear faint whispers calling my name. I shot upright. They were real, drifting through the closed window. The door swung open, and a chill rushed in. I clenched my teeth, staring into the dark hall. Then everything went silent. I slowly got out of bed, driven by a force I didn't understand. I stepped into the hallway, drawn toward the familiar whispers. That S when I saw it, an outline in the darkness, a shadow that moved with purpose. My heart dropped. This was no dream. I hesitated, my feet rooted to the floor. The shadow shifted slightly, its shape becoming more defined. It wasn't just a figment of my imagination. This felt real. My heart raced, but I couldn't run. I had to know what it was. Moving forward tentatively, I felt the air grow colder with each step. The whispers intensified, swirling around me like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. I tried to focus, to find out what this shadow wanted, but dread clawed at my insides. Just as I reached for the light switch, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Without warning, it darted down the hallway and vanished around the corner. I rushed after it, my heart pounding. The further I went, the more the whispers turned into frantic murmurs. I stumbled into the living room, and that S when I saw it. The shadow stood at the far end, near the window. It almost looked human, but its features were indistinct, like a reflection on water rippling apart. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice shaky. It didn't respond. Instead, it pointed towards the window, and at that moment, I felt a deep sense of urgency to look outside. I stepped closer, my body trembling. I pulled back the curtain. There, beneath the glow of the streetlights, stood a figure. Not just any figure, the man from that old photo. He was identical, his eyes chillingly familiar, as if he was staring directly at me. My breath hitched in my throat. I could hardly think. Then the shadow in my living room faded, disappearing into nothingness as I blinked. I turned back to the window, but the man was gone. Panic surged through me. Who was he? Why was he here? In a fit of terror, I darted to my computer, desperate to dig deeper into the blog post I had read. I found the article and stared at the comments again, searching for clues. That S when something else caught my eye, a date. Every disappearance aligned with the arrival of summer. I scrolled further and noticed a name. Someone had mentioned a local woman who had gone missing years ago. The last known person to see her was the man in the photo. My heart raced again. Could he be the key? Was there something connecting him to these disappearances? Then my phone buzzed, disturbing my thoughts. It was a text from one of my friends, asking if I wanted to join them that weekend. I felt a chill. Did I really want to go back there? The shadows were calling to me, drawing me closer to an unseen danger. I had to decide quickly. The figure at the beach was waiting, and summer was almost here. With a mixture of fear and determination, I typed back a response. I wasn't done yet. I had to confront my dread. There were answers waiting for me at that beach. But would I survive to find them? The next morning, I woke up before dawn, my mind racing. I couldn't shake the image of the man from the photo. Was he a ghost? A lost soul? If he was involved in the disappearances, what did that mean for me? I needed to find out. After a quick breakfast, I grabbed my notebook and headed outside. The beach was only a short drive away. The air felt thick with anticipation as I approached the shoreline. The sun was just starting to rise, casting an eerie amber light over the sand. I parked my car and stepped out, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore filling my ears. A part of me wanted to turn back, but I had to be brave. I walked along the beach, scanning the area. There was something unsettling about the tranquility. My heart raced as I remembered the frantic murmurs from last night. Now all I heard was the ocean. As I reached a secluded spot, I noticed something half buried in the sand. I knelt down and brushed away the grains. It was an old compass, its needle spinning wildly. Confused, I held it up to the light. What was it doing here? I started to feel as though I was being watched. The hairs on my neck stood on end. Suddenly, a shout broke through the stillness. I turned, stumbling upon a group of locals gathered nearby. They were whispering urgently, pointing towards the water. I felt drawn to their secretive demeanor, but fear splashed through me as the shouting grew louder. Not again. One of them murmured, clearly terrified. I edged closer, not wanting to intrude but unable to look away. Then someone caught my eye. A tall woman, her face pale with fear, met my gaze head-on. "You shouldn't be here," she warned, her voice shaking. "It's not safe. Not now." "What do you mean?" I asked, panic rising in my chest. "The man. He returns every summer. He needs something." Her eyes darted to the waves, as if expecting something to emerge from the depths. My pulse quickened as I remembered the figure in the photo. Before I could respond, she continued, "If you see him, you have to go. Don't get close." The beach began to feel alive, the whispers I had heard before closing in on me from all directions. I wanted to ask more, but another cry rang out. A boy had leapt into the water, laughing just as a shadow appeared beneath the surface. My heart sank at the sight. The waves swirled faster, darkening around him. The woman shouted again, "Get him out, now!" I glanced at the compass in my hand, its needle still spinning. Then everything went cold. I felt the sudden urge to dive in, to pull the boy back. But another part of me screamed to run, to escape the beach before it consumed me too. I turned to the woman, but she had vanished. Panic shot through me. I had to act quickly. The water surged, and the boy was struggling. I couldn't abandon him. As I dashed toward the shore, I knew I was crossing into danger. Something about this summer and that man wasn't over yet. The answers I sought were pulling me closer. But at what cost? I plunged into the water, fighting against the relentless waves. The chill bit at my skin and slowed my movements, but I couldn't let that stop me. The boy was flailing, his laughter replaced by fear. I pushed forward, reaching out, my fingers brushing against him. "Grab my hand," I shouted, channeling all my energy into my voice. He looked at me, eyes wide with panic, and finally reached for me. Just as I closed my hand around his wrist, a powerful wave crashed over us. I felt something pull at my legs, dragging me down. Fear shot through me as I fought to keep my grip on the boy. Images of the man from the photo flashed in my mind, the way he had stared through the lens, as if daring me to dive deeper into this mystery. I kicked hard and pulled the boy up, adrenaline fueling my strength. I could hear the locals shouting from the shore, their voices mixing with the roar of the ocean. Somehow, I managed to drag him closer, the water swirling dangerously around us. "Help!" I gasped, desperation clawing at me. Just as I thought we might be overwhelmed, strong hands grabbed us, pulling us out of the water. I blinked against the light as I was tossed into the sand, the boy tumbling beside me. The locals formed a circle, their faces taut with anxiety. A tall man, probably in his late 40s, knelt beside us. "You're okay now," he said, voice steady. I could see tension in his jaw. "What were you thinking?" I couldn't just let him drown," I stammered, still trying to catch my breath. The boy sat up, coughing up water and sputtering, but alive. Relief washed over me, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As I stood up, I noticed the compass still clutched in my hand. Its needle wasn't spinning anymore. It was now pointing directly towards the water's edge. I looked down, bewildered. "What does this mean?" I murmured to myself. The woman from before materialized from the crowd. Her expression was a mix of gratitude and fear. "Thank you for saving him," she said, breathless. But her eyes darted back to the waves. "You still don't understand, do you?" "No," I replied, even more confused. "What is going on here? Who is the man you mentioned?" She hesitated, glancing at the ocean. He needs something each year. Her voice wavered as she spoke, the fear bleeding through her words. You might have just attracted him back. The weight of her statement sunk in. I looked back at the waves, my heart pounding. Attracted him? At what cost? Without warning, the water surged forward again, waves crashing angrily, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a dark figure glide just beneath the surface. My breath caught in my throat. Then, everything around me shifted. The laughter and shouting faded, the world blurring at the edges as the darkness pulled closer. I staggered backwards, my mind racing, and then I stumbled into something solid. A voice, low and echoing, whispered near my ear, "You shouldn't have come here." A creeping chill crawled up my spine. I turned quickly, scanning the crowd for help. But I realized I was no longer part of them. I was off on my own, facing whatever the summer and the man had in store for me. As the energy of the beach twisted into chaos, I knew I had stumbled into something much deeper, and I was running out of time to understand it before it consumed me whole. The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. I brushed the sand off my legs, still feeling the tremors of panic coursing through me. The locals whispered around me, their voices dripping with concern and something darker. I scanned the beach, searching for familiar faces, but all I saw were strangers, eyes flickering to the ocean as if expecting something terrifying to emerge. "Please," I said, turning back to the woman who had spoken before. "What do you mean by he takes? Who is he?" Her gaze flitted nervously between me and the water. "He is the reason we leave offerings. He doesn't want to be forgotten." There was a tremor in her voice. I could see her mind wrestling with something she feared to articulate. I took a step closer. "What kind of offerings?" "Things that were once loved," she replied, her eyes haunted. "But mostly people." The chill slid down my spine again. I must have looked horrified because she quickly added, "If you're here, you must leave before it's too late." Before I could ask why it mattered, a loud crack echoed through the air, and everyone scrambled to their feet. My heart raced. I followed their gaze down the beach to where a massive wave bulged ominously. As it crested, something in the water shimmered and disappeared just as quickly, like a flash of silver. "What was that?" I whispered, stepping back. "They're here," the woman said, urgency sharpening her tone. "The offering must be made soon. The waters ask for it." I was drowning in confusion and fear. "But I saved him. Doesn't that count for something?" "No," she replied softly, glancing away. "That was just the beginning. You need to understand what you've stirred." I felt my breath hitch as the fear began to turn into something else, a sense of urgency that propelled me forward. I looked to the crowd. "What do I do?" One of the locals, a wiry man with salt and pepper hair, stepped forward. "We need to gather what he wants before nightfall. Follow me." I hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. I had come to this beach looking for answers but now found myself on the edge of something far more dangerous. We wove through the throng of anxious bodies towards the edge of the cliff that loomed above the shoreline. The sky darkened, casting long shadows over the rocks. Each step felt heavier than the last, and my thoughts sharpened into a singular goal: find out what I could offer before it was too late. As we crested the hill, I noticed something wedged between the jagged rocks below, something that glinted in the last light of the day. That S when I saw it. A small box with intricate carvings. It looked so out of place amidst the rawness of nature. "What is that?" I asked breathlessly. "An offering," the man stated, the weight of his words heavy. "We must find out if it's enough." With my heart racing, I moved closer to the edge, drawn to it somehow. The whispers of the beach echoed in my mind, urging me to tread carefully. I wasn't alone in this. The shadows of the waves were growing closer. The moment I reached for it, the water roared in the distance like a beast awakening, and I realized it was a race against time. The moment my fingers brushed against the box, the world around me seemed to shift. The wind howled, tugging at my clothes as if trying to pull me away. I snatched my hand back, glancing at the wiry man beside me. His eyes widened as he took a cautious step forward. "Do you feel that?" he asked, his voice shaking. I nodded, the unsettling energy thrumming in the air around us. The locals behind us murmured, their voices a low chorus of fear and doubt. "It's alive," someone whispered, echoing the tension building within me. I looked back at the box. Its carvings twisted and turned under the fading light. They seemed to pulse, as if breathing. "What do we do now?" I asked, the tremor of urgency clawing at my throat. The wiry man stepped closer, his bravado melting away. "We open it. It might hold the key to appease him." I swallowed hard. What if opening it awakened something worse? I hesitated but knew I couldn't back down now. If there was even a chance it could help, I had to try. With a shaking hand, I reached for the latch. It felt cool against my skin, and as I pressed it down, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a major mistake. The latch clicked open with a dull thud that echoed in the silence surrounding us. I opened the lid slowly, anticipation thick in the air. What met my eyes was not what I expected. Inside sat a reflective surface, smooth as glass but dark, swirling with shadows. I leaned in closer, mesmerized by the movement within. Then, in that instant, a whisper curled around me, echoing my name. "Help!" I jumped back, my heart racing. The sound was a voice, clear yet distant. "Did you hear that?" I gasped, looking back at the locals who now stood rooted in place, their faces pale. They exchanged frantic glances, and the wiry man shook his head. "We shouldn't be here. We must go." But I couldn't move my feet. I was caught in the box as pull, the voice tugging at my heart, weaving a connection I didn't understand. "Please, who are you?" I called out, desperation flooding my voice. "Find me, before he comes." The urgency in the words sent a shiver down my spine. The waves crashed violently against the cliffs. I turned, startled by the sudden roar of the ocean, the water appearing darker, more menacing. It felt alive, twisting around itself as if searching for something or someone. "Now!" the wiry man shouted, breaking through the haze. He grabbed my arm and pulled me back from the edge. "We need to leave before it's too late." I stumbled, glancing back at the box. My instincts screamed at me to run, but the voice continued to tug at my thoughts. I took a deep breath and backed away, the magnetic force slowly releasing its hold. As we hastened down the rocky path, I glanced back one last time. The box sat there, innocent yet threatening, a mystery wrapped in shadows. My heart raced. I knew I hadn't just stumbled upon something magical. I had awakened a part of an ancient fear, and I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't fulfill the promise the voice had made. The night was closing in, and a low growl rose from the waves, sending chills down my spine. Time was running out. We hurried down the rocky path, my mind racing. Each step felt heavy, weighted down by the dread that clung to me. I could still hear that haunting whisper, echoing in the dark corners of my mind. The wiry man was muttering something about staying away from the coast. I barely registered it. My focus was on the box and what it meant. We stumbled into a clearing, the moonlight casting sharp shadows on the uneven ground. I finally caught my breath and turned to face the wiry man. "What do you know about the box?" I demanded, my voice sharper than I intended. His eyes darted around, scanning for any sign of danger. "I don't know much, just rumors." He swallowed hard. "They say it's a portal, a chance to reach something powerful. But too much power is dangerous." Power? I felt a flicker of unease at the word. What had I unleashed? What is it supposed to do? He shook his head. "No one who has tried to open it has returned. That whisper you heard, it could be a trap. We need to suddenly..." A loud, crashing sound interrupted him. We both turned to see a wave cresting much higher than before, slamming into the cliffs with a booming roar. The ground quaked beneath our feet. My heart dropped as I realized it wasn't just the ocean angry. It was responding to us, to what we had disturbed. He pulled me backward as another wave crashed down, spraying us with salty water. "We have to get away from here," he urged. Panic coursed through me, but for some reason, I felt tethered to the box. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me. Then I saw it, a flash of movement in the water, something dark and inhuman slithering just beneath the surface. My breath caught. "What is that?" I pointed, my voice trembling. "That's what I'm afraid of," he gasped, eyes wide in horror. He tugged me toward the trees lining the clearing, but I hesitated. There was something in that water, something I instinctively knew was connected to the call from the box. I took a step back toward the shoreline, forcing him to stop. "Wait, we have to find out what the voice meant. It's asking for help. What if it's trapped?" My heart raced as the words spilled out. I couldn't articulate why I felt drawn to it. All I knew was that I had to understand. "Listen." The wiry man grabbed my shoulders, shaking me slightly. "You don't know what you're saying. If we uncover whatever that is, we might not survive." Before I could respond, a fierce wind whipped through the trees, carrying with it a guttural growl that echoed over the crashing waves. Fear clutched my chest as I glanced toward the ocean again. But this time, the dark shape was rising out of the water. It was massive, looming, and unmistakably alive. "Go," he shouted, pushing me toward the trees. But that was when I snapped. "No, I need to know," I yelled back, my own voice barely recognizable. The shadows in the water drew nearer, and in that moment, I sensed it was watching us, waiting for me. Then, everything went dark. The moonlight vanished as the clouds rolled in thick, and I couldn't see anything. Startled, I tripped over roots, my pulse thrumming in my ears. I wasn't ready for the darkness, for what loomed beyond what I could see. In the chaos of uncertainty, one thought broke through. What if the voice wasn't just calling for help but had something else to share? Something worse? I had to find out, even if it meant facing what was rising from the depths. I stumbled through the dark, feeling my way with shaky hands. The air was thick, heavy with the salt of the ocean and something else, something tangy and metallic. Panic tightened in my chest, but I pushed on. I couldn't let the fear win. I needed answers. Then, as if sensing my resolve, the wind shifted. A low sound, like a deep, haunting chuckle, rippled through the dark. I froze, heart racing. "Hello?" I called, voice shaky. Silence met me, heavy and suffocating. Somewhere nearby, I heard the wiry man curse under his breath. "We shouldn't be here. We should be left." His words only fueled my determination. I didn't come this far to turn back. What if it really needs help? I insisted, not even knowing what I meant. As if in response, the growl returned, louder and more insistent. I edged closer to the shoreline, straining to see shapes in the restless water. The dark mass broke the surface, unmistakably alive, revealing a glimpse of iridescent scales glimmering in the fading light. The ocean roiled as the creature twisted, and I could see the reflection of something else's eyes, bright and piercing, focused on me. "Get back," the wiry man shouted, grabbing my arm. But I pulled away, mesmerized. The creature was beautiful in a terrifying way, all curled limbs and shimmering skin, exuding an otherworldly charm. I felt a pull, a connection, like the voice was urging me closer. "It wants to talk," I whispered, half to myself. A surge of confidence coursed through me. I had to understand. I took a step forward, my feet squelching into the sand. The wiry man hissed my name, a mix of fear and urgency, but it barely registered. "Help us," I breathed, not even sure where the words came from. The moment I spoke, the whispers intensified, swirling all around me. The creature responded too, its eyes narrowing, glowing as if considering my plea. But then, a violent wave surged again, crashing over the shoreline, pulling the creature down. My heart fell. Just like that, the connection was severed, its call slipping beneath the frothy waves. "No," I cried out, desperation clawing at my throat. The force of the wave thrust me backward, sending me sprawling onto the ground. I looked up, gasping for air, drenched and disoriented. The wiry man was standing over me, his face a mask of shock. "It's gone," he said, voice trembling. "You could have died. We need to leave now." His fear ignited mine. I stumbled to my feet, scanning the dark water, desperate to catch one last glimpse of the creature. But all I saw was chaos, foam and shadow. I felt hollowed out, robbed of something vital. Then I noticed the box lying half-buried in the sand. It glimmered under the moonlight, beckoning, as if it knew something I didn't. I trudged towards it, heart racing once again. That S when I saw it, a dark, swirling mist rising from the box, curling up into the air. I froze. It was alive. What's happening? I gasped, turning to the wiry man. But before he could answer, a deep crack echoed out across the sea, signaling that whatever was unleashed was just beginning. I backed away, dread pooling in my stomach. Something is coming, I whispered, and I could feel it too. Time was about to run out. The whispers escalated, swirling in the air like a storm of voices. I turned my gaze back to the box, the mist curling into odd shapes before settling above it like a dark cloud. The wiry man pulled me away from the shore, panic etched on his face. I told you, we need to leave now. But my feet felt cemented to the ground. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the box. Inside lay something connected to both the whispers and the creature. The air crackled with energy, promising long-hidden secrets. What is it? I breathed, my voice barely rising above the cacophony of murmurs. What have we awakened? Before he could answer, the mist twisted violently, coalescing into a form, a shadow that seemed to flicker between existence and void. I felt a chill shoot through me, as if the mist were alive and watching, hungry for confrontation. The water surged again, sending salty droplets flying through the air. A voice rose from the depths of the dark, resonating deep within me. Help! It was a plea, familiar yet alien, echoing the same urgency I had felt before. It had awakened, not just something from the ocean, but a force that demanded reckoning. I took a half-step forward despite the wiry man's frantic protests. Help! Who are you? I shouted, my heart racing against the tide of panic. My gaze darted between the watery horizon and the box. The shadows around me seemed to pulse with anticipation. It needs something. The wiry man grounded me, fear turning to resolve. We've considered offerings before, but now it's different. The boundaries have blurred. And then I remembered the box. The voice, I exclaimed, emotions spilling out. It wanted me to help. What if this is the key? He shook his head violently, almost pleading with me. You have no idea what you're inviting. I glanced back at the approaching mass, half-heartedly waving my hand as if to dispel the growing mist. If we don't confront this, it'll only grow stronger. I was past reasoning, past fear. All I felt was an overwhelming obligation to understand. A distant rumble rolled through the atmosphere, reverberating against the cliffs. Something was emerging, something powerful. I leaned closer to the box, the swirls inside shifting and changing. Would it grant me the answers I demanded, or simply trap me deeper within the mystery? The whispers crescendoed until my head spun. I could see the darkness forming a tangible presence woven from shadows which gleamed dimly like broken glass. With every moment, the figure morphed from mist to form, becoming something reminiscent of both a guardian and a predator. Listen, the wiry man shouted, but I was lost in the shadows as it beckoned me. Please tell me your story. I called into the shifting darkness. The wind howled in response, carrying whispers, memories I could barely grasp. The shadows surged forward, wrapping around my mind. I saw flashes of moments long past, faces twisted in joy and woe, individuals lost to the waves, leaving nothing but their echoes behind. I was shown the truth as the figure soared forward, locks of midnight hair threading through water. It was the embodiment of the beach's history, joy mingled with despair. One voice cut clearly through the noise. We haven't forgotten you. It's always been your fault. It hissed like silver wisps, and fear surged anew through my veins. Was I somehow responsible? Was this figure holding on to my past actions and unfulfilled promises? I shivered, looking down at the box in my hands. What do you want from me? I whispered, feeling the weight of ancient longing collide painfully with my understanding of reality. The murmurs intensified, swirling like a storm as the water pulsed like a heartbeat. I felt that connection again, the link to the boy I had saved, the need to mend what was broken. Suddenly, everything grew starkly quiet. I looked up. The shadows had receded momentarily, revealing the silvery outlines of the waves cresting against the shore once more. But as the whispers settled, an uneasy energy still crackled in the air, a reminder that something had shifted irrevocably. My heart raced as I turned back to the box, clear thoughts jostling in my mind. Maybe offering wooden tea be the answer. Maybe I needed to confront the darkness directly instead, to acknowledge what I had seen. Giving voice to my fears was the first step I had taken towards understanding the shadows that lingered. Without fully comprehending the gravity of my action, I gripped the box, feeling its cool surface pulse beneath my fingers. I will not ignore the past, but I will not become a part of it either. You are not forgotten, I said fiercely, staring directly into the mass of shadows. The entity reared back, its ethereal form hesitating, mingling with the surrounding darkness. You think you know? My resolve hardened as remnants of doubt fought to take root. I may not comprehend the entirety of reality here and what lies beneath, but I can face that fear. As if sensing my determination, the shadows began to dissipate, retreating wisely to the water, collapsing like waves. A moment of uncertainty hung in the air until it surged back violently, sending water crashing up towards the blades of grass. The wiry man grasped my shoulder, bewildered. You've done something, but what? Did it listen? I couldn't even form a coherent thought, my mind still spinning in the churning shadows that had haunted me since my arrival. I don't know. The winds began to die down, quieting the mass chaos surrounding us. And in that instant, inexplicably, the whispers became soft and a final echo lingered in the air. Be brave. Keep our tails. With one last sweep of the horizon, I felt an uncanny peace settle over the beach as dawn bled light across the waves, illuminating my thoughts and leaving questions still unanswered. What did I leave behind? Was I truly free? Or had I merely traded current chains for the lingering ghost of uncertainty lurking as the tides prepared to rise again? As I turned away from the surf, glancing back towards the glowing box half buried in the sand, I couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter far from ended. There would always be something beneath the waves, something needing reckoning, a reminder that at the heart of mystery lay my own continuous journey toward understanding. And perhaps, in confronting the darkness, I finally discovered the shadow's lasting echo within me.